What is going on, guys? Vlad here with SolusPLC.com, and today we're going to be exploring a very important and interesting topic, which is messaging between different types of PLCs. And what I have on my desk actually is a PLC which you've seen before, which is running Studio 5000. It is the CompactLogix L24ER processor, and I also have a MicroLogix 1100 series which is running RSLogix 500. I have both of them open. I have the 500 series in front of you, and I also have the 5000 Studio 5000 in the background. I'm online with both processors, and I'm going to be showing you exactly how to send data from one processor to another. And that is an extremely important concept, because now with all the data that's being sent through, if you want to shut down an older machine or vice versa, if you want to just send sensor data to your main processor, it is a very important concept to know. So what is the first thing that we're going to set up? So let's go into our Studio 5000 environment and create the messaging instruction itself and see what it demands of us. So the messaging instruction can be found in one of those menus, but what we're going to do is I'm going to just double click a random instruction and put in MSG. What I'm also going to need is a message control. As you can see here, there's a question mark. So I'm going to say MSG control, and this is going to be our MicroLogix here, ML1100 series. And we're going to read the data from it. So I'm going to label that as a read. Actually, I'm going to put that as an R. There we go. That will make it easier for us. I'm going to right click, create a new tag. This is going to be a data type of message, very, very important. It's going to be a processor scoped tag. Click create, everything looks good. One thing that you do need to know is that a message instruction essentially triggers in a different thread than everything else. So unlike what you've learned up until now, messaging happens on its own, so it gets started, but it doesn't necessarily interrupt the processing or the computational power of your processor. So what you need to create is a timer. So let's start from that as well. So T on, and this is going to be our system timer 0. I already have a couple of things set up on this PLC from the previous tutorial. So we're going to put that at ½ second. So every ½ second, essentially, we're going to poll our other processor for information. It's going to be an XIC instruction. Actually, sorry, this is going to be a greater than. So whenever the timer accumulated, the accumulated time is greater than 300, for example, we are going to poll this messaging instruction. And of course, this timer is going to run in a continuous loop. So XIO, Control C, we're going to say this is, whenever the timer is not done, it's going to reset itself, essentially. And if you're not familiar with any of this, please refer back to some of the previous tutorials which I've done on PLCs, and that should come in handy and be very clear. So let's jump into the message control instruction. Once we open it, you'll get this notification, which essentially allows you to fill in certain information which you need. So there's going to be quite a few different messaging types, and of course we are dealing with what's called a SLIC type processor. So this refers to most of the family which runs RSLogix 500 software, and I'm going to select just that. So we're going to read from that processor, and of course I encourage you to explore some of the other ones. So you can use SIP generic if you're dealing with two processors which are newer, but we're going to go into this. We have this source element, number of elements, as well as the destination element. So let's start off with the source. So the source is going to be residing on your other PLC, of course, because that is where you're reading from. Therefore, let's move on to this program and figure out what we need to do. Now, in our data files, you will notice that this is something that I've covered before, but essentially you have a different structure for different data types. What we need to do is to create essentially a data type which is we're going to be using for messaging, and this is something that you need to get used to doing, because you will confuse somebody if you're just purely reading out of these let's say inputs and outputs. Of course you can do that, but I'd rather pass data and kind of be very kind of familiar with what's going on. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to save this program, which is running on my PLC right now. I'm going to go offline, because you can only edit PLC stuff or the data files offline. I'm going to scroll down here, right click data files, properties, and I'm going to create a new one. So I'm going to hit create new. And the file, the next one in line is going to be 12. As you can see, I have this N11 here. So it's going to be a binary file. You can make this an integer and of course a couple of different other things, but we are going to be reading essentially integer data. So I'm going to call this message out. So message out is going to be the label for that particular data type, and let's just review everything. Debug, skip, it's going to be global. Okay, let's make it like so. As you can see, it got appended all the way at the bottom. I'm going to close this, and I'm going to download back into the PLC. Hit OK here. Yes, proceed with the download. Continue in program mode, of course. Change back to run, go online. So everything looks good. So we do have this, as you can see, this. Actually, I did want to create more of these, but anyways, we're going to read just one integer in this case. You can scale this up to as many as you want. So we have one integer. Let's go back into this source element. So the source element is going to be that particular register. And if you click it here, you will notice that you do need to still select the entire register. And this is going to be not the first bit, which is the entire selection, but the register is going to be B12. 0 is going to be the start of it. So I'm going to paste that in as the start. Destination element is going to be the tag in which you want to store this data on the Studio 5000 environment. So this is something that you can essentially create on your own here. And message, and this is going to be message ML1100 read B12 read. Let's name it like that, and this is going to be a essentially I wanted to create a couple more, so let's see if we can do that. Read 0, and this is going to be integers, because do remember there's no double integers in the older processors, and we're going to make that a 10 in case we do want to expand that later on. We can. So that looks pretty good. Destination element, this is going to be at this first element. Let's see here, we can hit apply. So no path value. So the path is, of course, the way you communicate back to the PLC. And now there's two ways to go about this. So you can either enter the path on your own, and if you're familiar with the notation, I highly recommend that you do that. Otherwise, you can browse and you can add the PLC within your tree. So that is a different route that you can do. You can add it as a module, so it makes it very easy for you to add it in multiple locations if you plan to do that. However, in this case, we're going to go with the path route. And the first thing that I'm going to type in here is a 2. Now, this 2 represents that we are going out to the backplane, which is essentially the port number 2 or the Ethernet port of the PLC. So this is common across many different PLCs, and this is something that you will see very, very frequently in the message instructions. And if you just type in the IP address of your other processor directly, it may not work as expected. So therefore, you do need that too. Now, the IP, we can figure that out in case you are not familiar with that operation. We can double click on this controller properties, go into communications, and here's where you will see the IP. But essentially, it's a common communication path that I have through RSLinks. I can copy paste that in like so, and as you can see, if everything's okay, you will see that it will be displayed at the bottom here. That is your indicator that things are typed in correctly. As you can see, if I delete that, it doesn't show up. Communication method, it is going to be CIP. If you have Data Highway Plus, you will have to specify a couple of different things. Of course, the channel, the destination link, and node, but that's something that we can leave for later. We're going to hit apply. Everything is okay. As you can see, everything took. There's no issues. And we can compile our code. Let's see what happens if we do get a correct message across. So everything looks good. As you can see here, this done bit of the message instruction is of course highlighted as correct. And usually that is a good sign. If you do get an error, of course, the error bit comes on and you do have an error text which will be displayed here. But how do you know that the data is actually being sent? Well, the easiest way is, of course, to test it on processors. So we have this MSG ML1100 B12 tag. Let's go into that tag and see what kind of data we are getting. Let's scroll all the way down. That's not the right tag. MSG read tag. Let's go here. And we should get data in our first integer only, because we are only reading one single element. So how do we check for the data? Well, we can start toggling these bits. So if I toggle this bit, for example, I toggle this bit, for example, what I get in terms of decimal data, it should be 2112. If I go back into my processor, as you can see, I am reading this 2112. And of course, as you would expect, if I do change that to a certain different number, so toggle bit again, I don't know what that data is going to be, 2632. And of course, we are passing the data, and you can expand your elements to as many as you'd like. Actually, let's really quickly do that right now. So I'm going to go back offline. I'm going to save the changes. Yes, we can do okay. Yes. Really quickly. So the way you would expand the data, if you want to send a lot more information to your processor, you would need to edit the way this is set up. I actually by accident created only one element, but you can go 10, for example, since that's what we set up our other tag to be taking. And let's go back into download, hit OK, and then we're going to download, of course, hit yes. And while we download, let's go back to our other environment tab in here, and then we need to edit the number of elements we are copying in. And I don't remember. Yeah, we can do this 10. Let's hit apply, hit OK, and we still get no errors, therefore everything seems to be good. Let's go back online with this processor and double check what we have. If I open this message instruction, let's toggle this some of these random integers and bits, and we will see what kind of information we get. And let's switch back to decimal just to be able to see what's going on. So as you can see, that's kind of the register that we've set up of our 10 different integers. If I scroll back or change back into our other processor, as you can see, we are getting 10 of these registers. And of course, as you would expect, things are working, things are being passed over Ethernet. One thing for sure that you will notice is that you do need to prevent for some kind of an error. If something happens, if you lose communications, this message instruction will not necessarily trigger anything outside of the scope of the instruction, and it will say communication error, and you will notice if you are online with the processor. But what you can do, of course, that's not what I wanted to do. You can add a rung here, and you can set up this let's see here, XIC, and you can create this MSG underscore control dot error. So if you do get an error, you can certainly shut down your equipment. Let's see here. This is going to be an OTE. MSG malfunction. So this is going to be just a generic tag, which is going to be a message malfunction tag. Let's create that. Actually, so yeah, so I guess this is an int. Let's see here. So it's going to be neck. So if it's not equal to 0, then we do have an error, and we are going to send this to this malfunction tag, and let's hit this yes. So if it's not equals to 0, if the error is not 0, then you do have an error within your message instruction, and that's how you can, just a very easy way to capture. And of course, you can get fancy with the different codes, but one error could be, for example, if you want to, let's see if this actually allows us to do that. So as you can see, if we set up 100 elements to read, you will notice that we immediately get a malfunction because it's an illegal command from local processor, because we are trying to write 100 different elements into a tag which only has room for 10 different elements. And of course, if we do go below a certain limit, everything becomes nice and fancy. And if you unplug the cable, for example, or if you lose communications between your PLCs, or if, for example, let me just try this really quick. If I go into my communication protocol and I type in the wrong IP address, for example, we should see that the instruction will not be able to fetch the right IP, the right data. And it's interesting that it's not faulting out. It seems like it's trying to go there, but it's not actually, it shouldn't actually get any data whatsoever. Could not perform. So while it's so essentially it's timing out. It's trying to get the data, but it's not being timed out. And what you need to do is essentially block this messaging instruction, so you could stop this in order to modify the IP address. But as you can see, it is trying to get the data and it is timing out, and it is sending an error all the way at the end, but it is not getting the right value. So that is also something that you need to protect against and create some kind of a heartbeat system if you do plan to go that route. Now we are going to explore some different messaging instruction in a different tutorial, but for now I believe that's enough information. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time. Thank you guys so much for watching my content. If you have any questions on this topic, make sure to leave them in the comment section below. And if you can spend 5 seconds of your time liking as well as sharing that video if you've enjoyed it, that would mean absolutely the world to me. And if you have any suggestions for the channel, what kind of hardware, software I should be covering, then make sure to leave that down there as well. See you next time. Take care. Bye.